Being able to truthfully do this is what will allow you to actually begin to shift your life and yourself in a much quicker way. Being able to take full responsibility of what I'm going to talk about today is one of the hardest things that we find ourselves doing. At least I know I had, and I've seen plenty of other people do the same thing. You see, it's most of the time when we go through very tough times, we go through very hard situations, where we find ourselves questioning why we have done certain things or are certain ways, or at the bare minimum, why are we in certain situations, right? We oftentimes fail to take that responsibility to say, like, okay, it is me, it was me that caused it, right? I caused it in some sort of way. I brought this into my life because of some sort of action of mine. We fail most often to take that responsibility, right? I mean, it's most often that the clarifying truths of our past experiences come back to life when we're in the midst of turbulent times. Right? Times when it feels, once again, least appropriate to take responsibility. Least appropriate is to ask ourselves what it was that we did to bring that into our life. Right? We have these emotional reactions. We have this built-up pain to our past self or this past situation that we were in. Now, let me ask you, my friend, are you going to allow the pain of the past to prevent you from living in a greater moment now? Are you going to allow the pain of the past to stop you from being all that you can be right here today and for the rest of your life? Are you going to take another 6 months, a year, 10 years to break down the wall inside of yourself that's preventing true expression from the pain of the past, from what you were misguided from earlier on in life? When you can actually ask yourself that, you begin to adhere to the obvious truth of the matter. You begin to adhere to your higher self calling you up, asking you to look past your pain, to look past what you've learned in life through painful experiences, to look past all of which that is no longer serving you. You see, your higher self always wants you to be at your highest level. It always wants you to succeed at your greatest potential. But you see, the devil, or the lower side of yourself, will constantly want to base you in a reality that it can determine and understand simply. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that the lower sides of you will take you out of this higher vision of yourself. The lower sides of you will say, you know what, I've been through that and I've been through this, so I know the reality is this. And I don't want to get out of that frame of context. You see, I grew up like this. I know this very much from experience. I would have these parts of myself that wanted to do more. I wanted to talk to more people in school. I wanted to have more friends. I wanted to do better during presentations. I wanted to have more of an expression of myself. I wanted to write more, in a way. But my paradigm, what I was learning, my emotional reactions to my past and my present and my perceived future, it was constantly berating the sense of self. It was saying, no, dude, don't do that. Don't do that. You'll get made fun of. You'll be embarrassed. So I didn't. At all costs, I avoided it. Those thoughts would come up and they would be shunned immediately. Right? Why? What if I was to get out of my comfort zone? What if I was to break past that wall? What if I was able to find a way to listen to my higher self at that point when I was younger and do those things that I wanted to do? I'd be a different individual. But we go through what we grow through what we go through, and we become who we're supposed to be ultimately either way. Once we finally adhere to that obvious truth. You see, adhering to the obvious truth allows for much quicker transformation. It allows for you to actually get moving towards what it is that you want to do in a much quicker fashion. But you have to be willing to take those steps. What are those steps, you might ask? Well, there's many different ways to do it. I found a great way to, or at least the way that helped me, I can kind of explain to you here today, being that it was something that took time to go through. I had to fail forward. I had to fail forward and then reflect on what it was that I went through to go back and say, okay, what was this, right? And it's still something that I'm zoning in. But I can tell you the first of which that I did was I started to build this bigger picture, just in the slightest way, right? If I would have done this much more, I would have been able to shift quicker. But I began to understand that there was a greater side of me out there. I began to really look at life with a much more positive, grateful lens that said, you know what? I haven't enjoyed anywhere near as much of life as I should have up until this point because of my own doing. I started to take responsibility. And I said, there is a greater side of me out there. There is a greater side of me that I can be and see and fulfill and achieve. And I started taking those steps down that path. I started opening up my mind to more of an understanding that would allow me to be that self. So that's step one, create a bigger picture. Step two, as you're creating that bigger picture, your paradigm will fight you. It'll say, no, nah, that's not true. You've been through this. Go into that in the past. Look at what it was. Reflect on it. Reflect on what the best possible outcome of that situation would be. Like, meaning, what could you have learned that would help you the most in that moment? Once you see that, then you can begin to continue to internalize what it was that you were meant to be learning then. And you reframe these previous beliefs into something more positive and constructive of the you that you want to be. Right? Now, step three is you continue on that path and you continue to learn more and more of yourself. More and more of who you really are and who you want to be. And you're adhering to that obvious truth. And you continue to shift quicker and quicker and quicker. Because you're not holding yourself back. You're breaking down those barriers, those boundaries that hold you tight for a sense of safety and a sense of non-change that doesn't help anything. I'll make something more detailed on this in the future. Guys, I love you. I hope you have an amazing day. Go do whatever it is you need to do. Be the individual that you know you're meant to be. Adhere to that obvious truth and go hard. You got this. I love you guys. Let's go.